What's good, everyone? This is Dr. Nee. Welcome to another episode of Docs Outside the Box. Yo, I'm excited to be here. I'm joined by my lovely co-host.
Why are you stressing co-host?
Go ahead.
Dr. Renee, best host ever.
Co-host. Say it with me, guys. Co-host. Come on. Co-host. This is only temporary. You're the substitute teacher here. Okay? You acting like you here permanently. Okay? Like chill.
Taking over.
Chill. So listen, everyone. We got a short episode today, but listen, this episode we're going to introduce something that I think it's kind of been like the sore subject that I've wanted to get into, but we've never really got into it. And I felt like over the last 3 years, maybe even shorter than that I need to stop talking to the audience. Like, I need to stop talking to y'all and just kind of inviting y'all into our life, because I think we're now almost 10 years deep into our respective practices and what we've been doing. I think there's a lot of stuff that we can add. Like, there's a lot of value in the struggle that we went through, in all of the different paths that we took, some of the failures that we took, to really get things going and let people learn from that. So
Right.
We're going to start this series called The 11 Mistakes. You go ahead and introduce it.
Well, I'm calling it the 11 money traps that burnt out doctors can overcome to finally live the life they've always wanted.
All right, so forget all that, finally all that stuff. But basically, we're going to talk about the 11 mistakes that doctors make, so that you don't make those mistakes. And
Yeah.
we're going to throw in we're going to throw in a lot of personal stories, because as we were making this list, we realized that, like in each and every part, each and every list, or each and every item,
There's a story.
there's a story behind that, right? So you want to go ahead and actually, you know what? Listen, before we jump into this real quick. So I've been telling everybody to go ahead and text us. I don't remember the number. Just go to the show notes.
Alfred, now just put the number up on the screen.
Yeah. So the number is in the show notes. And if you guys text us, it comes directly to us. So we actually had someone reach out to us and sent us a text, and it comes directly to me.
Yeah.
And we know what's going on. So why don't you read that text?
All right. It is from Mavis Richum. And it says...
She want us to use her name?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It says, "Good morning, Doctors Darko. Thank you so much for your podcast. I'm currently a PGY1 at UPMC Children's Hospital and have been listening to your podcast since medical school 2019. I just finished the last episode. The point you made about building habits that guide you towards your goals is facts. I firmly believe to
Facts on facts.
Facts on facts on facts, yes. I firmly believe to reach a new goal, you must replace old bad habits with new good habits. Again, thank you. I'm a first-gen Ghanaian American.
Hey.
Grew up in New York City and Irvington, New Jersey.
Hey.
As well.
Taking the 25,
That's
yo.
right.
Taking
So,
the 25.
Your story resonates heavy with me. Keep up the great content. You guys have an awesome day."
See, that's dope.
Yeah.
Dr. Mavis, thank you so much for writing that. We really appreciate that.
Yeah.
And that's what's up, And the reason we wanted to put that out there is to let people know, one, we look at every text message that we get, every email, DM, whatever other way in which you get in touch with us, we read each and every one of those. Now, it may take a while before we get back to y'all with these
Or
things.
before we read it on.
But that was dope. And that should let you all know that we all got this power where all we have to do is just share what we went through, and you never know who's listening. So literally someone who is very similar background, grew up in New York City, and then came to Irvington, New Jersey, which is an extremely diverse place to live. So, Dr. Mavis, and you're at UPMC Children's.
Yeah.
Hey, when you come out, that's the equivalent of CHOP,
Right.
which is one of the top programs out there. So shout out to you for making it that far and making it a really great program. I sent a bunch of trauma patients there. I sent a bunch of pediatric patients there because I was like,
I've sent
to CHOP?
No, not to CHOP, but
to
UPM's in Pittsburgh. I've sent a couple of patients to Pittsburgh in the past. So yeah.
Yeah. So listen, guys, very simple and easy. Just text us and let us know what's going on. Or, if you want to use any other method, DM us, email us, let us know what's going on. Also, before we jump into the 11 money traps.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to say, people who are watching on YouTube, you can see I'm rocking scrubs on the top, and then I got pants on the bottom. Which specialty do I remind you of?
I don't know.
ER, right? It's just like, you ever
Scrub top on
you
the
ever see
top,
ER doctors?
khakis on the bottom.
ER doctors notorious. Like, why do y'all be rocking scrubs and then you'll wear jeans or you'll wear scrubs on the bottom? It's like, look, you coming to work or what?
Scrubs
I can't take you
khakis.
seriously. Like, they got the nerve to have a nerve to do a thoracotomy. Like, you ain't doing thoracotomy in just a top scrubs. Like,
Apparently
you
they
gotta
are.
wear the whole scrubs if you're gonna do something like that. Putting in chest tubes with just a scrub top. No.
No,
So,
with khakis. That's what kills with
khakis.
khakis. The jeans are okay. The khakis, yeah, that's a
Yeah,
a bold move right
yeah,
there.
the bottom scrubs are in the machine. So I was like, all right, man. Let me stop playing. Let me lay off on the ER docs.
Because you need them.
They're gonna come after us, right?
They need you.
Yeah.
And you need them.
So go ahead, jump in there. Tell us
All
what's
right,
going on.
So,
Let's start this.
yeah, so we're going to be talking about the 11 money traps that burnt out doctors can overcome. And like I said, this is just going to be an overview because we're going to talk about all of these way more in depth. But the first thing actually that I wanted to cover was savings, right? So a lot of docs, unfortunately, starting from medical school, even in residency, and sometimes into their attendinghood, don't necessarily
Sometimes
save.
a lot of them don't save.
Okay,
Let's just be real. Like we
I
went
was
through-
just trying to be nice about
a
it.
lot of them don't save, and that's fine. But like, when do you have an opportunity to save something then?
Well, I mean, that is very true, right? Because you come out of your residency and potentially you're hitting like, gobs and gobs of money, but we'll get into kind of the other money traps, but that money isn't necessarily saved, right? It's used for other things. So not saving money is definitely a big one, which means that a lot of docs don't have an emergency fund. And they're not even saving for known future expenses, right? Things that they know are going to happen, but they don't put a certain amount of money aside for it, right? And that's something that you actually could be like, yeah, I'm going to save for X, Y, and Z. But if you're not in the mindset, if you're not in the habit, speaking of habits, right? Of old habits, if you don't have that habit of saving, then even when something that you know is coming up, you may not even save for it. You just wait until it happens, like our Christmas fund.
Yeah.
Right? So we save for Christmas every year starting in about September, October, because we know Christmas is coming up. So things like that. How many of y'all are actually saving for Christmas every year? Oh, text me that. I would love to know how many of y'all save for Christmas every year. So saving, not saving is number one. Anything more to say on saving?
No, it's number two. Let's move on. Let's keep the list.
We'll keep it light. We'll keep it light.
Episode light, yeah.
Absolutely. So number two, financial planning. Right?
What do you mean by that?
So financial planning is different from saving, right? So, and financial planning actually probably should have been number one, but financial planning includes savings. It includes, your debt. It includes your retirement, investments, basically the things that you are supposed to be or wanting to do with your money, right? And if you don't have a financial plan, then pretty much your money is going to go places that you don't even know where it's going, right? So we talk a lot about this, about getting a financial advisor. Mm-hmm. So what's your advice for getting a financial advisor that you usually tell people?
I would I don't know. What are you getting at? What do you mean?
No, usually you tell people like fee only versus.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think if you're going to look for a financial advisor I think whatever financial advisor you look for, you want to look for someone who you know upfront what you're going to be paying. Mm-hmm. Usually that's a fee-only advisor. So what that means is you go to them and you say, hey, I want to learn how to do this with my investments. I want to learn how to do X with my investments. And they say, okay, I'm going to charge you X amount of dollars to do that.
Right.
Most financial advisors, I think, at that point who are residents or even attendings, when they talk to a financial advisor, they're like, yeah, I'll manage your money. And you're like, okay. Mm-hmm. And then that's it. And it's not like, how much is it going to cost?
Yeah.
Usually when that occurs, that means that they are taking a percentage off of the total amount of money that they are investing for you.
Right.
So 1% of $37,000 is not much. But when you start making $300,000, $400,000. You start developing a savings of $1 million, $2 million, $3 million. 1% of that is a lot of money. So I always just tell people, look for a fee-only advisor. But by the time you're in medical school, though, most people are probably using some type of app, whether it's Robinhood, Schwab, Vanguard. They all
Are they?
No. I said that they're all of the, because they don't have that much money, right? So, So I don't know if a financial advisor would benefit them, but it's something to think about. So
right.
Let's move on.
Okay. So then the third money trap is debt. Right? Having way too much debt. Okay. So we know that most medical students are going to graduate with at least a 6-figure level of debt. And then that goes into residency, that goes into your attending years, and potentially even into retirement. People are definitely bringing their debt into retirement. And without the financial plan, right? Without number 2, then bringing that debt into either retirement or just bringing it with you everywhere you go, like you usually say, like it's a pet, right? That can really, really hurt you, because not only are we thinking about student loan debt, but we're talking about all the other debt that you might accumulate in your life. So a house, a car, consumer debt, credit cards, things like that, lines of credit. Credit on your house, things like that. So not really having a plan for that debt, but then going into a lot of debt is a major money trap that can basically keep you working and keep you burnt out.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
So the next money trap, number 4, is income. Okay, not necessarily maximizing your income, not necessarily having multiple streams of income. Not really thinking about your income beyond the fact that you just get a paycheck, right? So, yeah, you have income, but what does that mean? Do you know how much, how much income you have versus the number of expenses you have? Do you know if that income is actually going to allow you a lifestyle that you want? Like, what is it about your income that makes you feel like, okay, I'm comfortable, I'm financially comfortable? Is it just the number? Because if it's just the number, but you don't have the rest of, the picture of your debt, your spending, all the other things to do with your money, then that singular number is not a lot of information.
Yeah, like making $100,000, but you have like $300,000 in student loan debt, and you live in New York City and paying $3,000, and you also drive a Tesla. Like, that $100,000 is going to go away real quick. I'm just using an extreme example, but I'm just saying that's the whole concept of just understanding that, yeah, you may bring in a certain amount of salary, but then if your student loans are multitudes of that, and then you're wanting to, have this life of luxury, then it's going to be a pretty painful life. So, yeah.
So, so that's income. So number 5 is spending way too much.
Yeah, that's probably the second half of what I said.
Exactly.
If you make it $100,000 and you got $300,000 of student loan debt, should you really get that Tesla?
Right.
Do you really want to live in the Upper West Side of New York? So
yep, having too much house, having too much car, that lifestyle
take
creep.
That New York, that MT Transit. You know what I'm saying? Take that 2 train.
Right, lifestyle creep, going out too much.
Jump a turnstile. The police. NYPD,
Pay your fare.
NYPD will tackle that ass. Yo, they don't play. Yo, of all the things. Like, why do they go so hard over people who jump the turnstile?
I think that they go harder on other things, Nee, but we won't talk about that in this episode.
Moving on. Let's move on.
So yeah, that lifestyle creep, all of that, okay? Spending way too much. That's number 5. Number 6, not having any or enough investments, right? So a lot of times, you and I have talked about investment a lot on this podcast. You talked about specifically investment in the stock market and how, what you used to think about it because your dad, you equated investment in the stock market.
Yeah, it's a very emotional relationship between investing and losing a job.
Right,
so, yeah.
Exactly. So you were kind of like stock market averse, if you will. And I think a lot of people are, right? Because when we see the stock market crash on TV, people are like, oh my God, it's a huge frenzy. So it creates a lot of uncertainty at times. But even if you're not doing, stocks, right? Because not everybody does the stock market, or not everybody does majority stock market. There are still other types of investments that people can have, right? And so those investment vehicles can allow you, because we talked about income before, can allow you to actually have yet another stream of income. And so having investments, is really something that can be a protective factor. And if you have investments, then you have more streams of income, you might not be as burnt out. Right? So that's number 6. Number 7, insurance. Nee's favorite.
The right type of insurance.
The right type of insurance,
yeah,
right?
The right type of insurance.
That's right. So being underinsured or being overinsured, right? Or just, not having insurance whatsoever.
Did you say insurance?
Insurance, yeah. Not having insurance. That's right. Insurance whatsoever. Okay. So if you don't have any insurance, well, this can pose a major problem for you because you just never know what is going to happen in your life.
I think if you get overinsurance, then you're paying too much. If you have underinsurance, then if something occurs, then you're screwed.
Yeah, you're absolutely screwed. Disability insurance, we've talked about a lot on this show. We've talked about life insurance and the different types of life insurance that you can get.
Low key, I think the show was like the show was started on the strength of getting screwed by whole
Basically,
life.
This show was started by whole life insurance, basically.
But we'll get into that. We'll get into that during that episode.
About how Nee bought his first insurance policy at the club.
Yeah.
But whatever.
That's a true story, guys.
That's a true story.
Met the insurance guy at the club. Should have moonwalked my ass away from that guy. But I was like, no, let me listen to him. Big mistake.
Do you rap? You should.
Jeez, man.
All right. So that was number 7. Number 8, not saving for retirement specifically. So this is in a different category than just saving, right? Okay. And the reason that it's in a different category than saving is because retirement is a different type of beast, right? Retirement is typically for when you're older. Okay, although there is the FIRE movement, but it's typically for when you're older, and understanding that there's something that comes with age, right? And it ain't agility. Okay, so you ain't gonna make majority of your money.
Y'all see why she's the co-host of this show, right? Like, this is the reason why I can't let you take the reins of the show, because you say stuff like that. I'm like, wait, what? Yeah. Can you act like you have some couth on this show?
I do. I got couth. Let me tell you, y'all gonna break down.
Listen, y'all, man.
Y'all gonna break down. You will break down, or you just not gonna feel like doing this hard work the way you're doing it right now.
This is my show. I love doing this. I'm never gonna break down.
Okay, we shall see about that.
I was watching Skip Bayless real quick. Skip Bayless has like a podcast / separate show, because what's his name?
Shannon Sharp. Now Skip.
Right?
Now Skip. No. Now Skip.
Now his podcast is called Club Shay Shay, right?
Club Shay Shay,
which is amazing. But I think they're starting to realize that, okay, you can't just be a talking head on TV. Like, you have to do more than this now. Like, people want, there's an appetite to do more than this. So he has his own podcast, and he's talking about why he doesn't have children. Mm-hmm. And he's on his second marriage. Okay. And he admits that he doesn't have children because he felt like he is so dedicated to what he does as a journalist, as well as now his second career, from early 2000s onwards, being this talking head on TV, that he feels like that is all that is important to him, that he doesn't feel right bringing children into this world. Okay. To the point that the current wife that he's with, Ernestine, on their first date, he said, hey, I just want to clear it up that, this is going good, but I want to clear it up and say that, in terms of journalism, in terms of what I do on TV, and if this works out, you will always come second to that.
Okay, I appreciate a man who's honest.
And she was like, I think he said that she was kind of like taken aback a little bit, but then she understood, and then they've been married, I think, close to like 17 years now.
Hey, listen, okay, if only everyone would be as honest as that on their first date, we probably wouldn't have as much divorce.
So the reason I say that is a good segue to this podcast and how I am about this podcast.
I'm second.
Third.
Yeah, I'm third.
All right, let's move on. Let's keep it moving, guys.
All right. But anyway, like I said, going back to retirement, the reason that I made this a separate category was because, retirement, we have to understand that Retirement could mean retiring at the age of 30 or the age of 65 or the age of 85. The reality is that, especially when you are older, that it is less likely that you're going to take yourself to work every day, for 12 hours a day. So saving for retirement is going to be extremely, extremely important, especially if you're going to be taking your debt into retirement, because you got to understand that money that you're not necessarily making as active income anymore is going to go towards that debt if you're bringing the debt with you into retirement.
That would suck.
Yeah, that would suck.
That would suck. But
Still paying for med school. How old are you? 75?
I can see people taking a really slow approach. But anyway, we'll talk about that.
Well, yeah, but I believe that people do take their debt into retirement with them. So, it's just, something interesting to think about. Number 9, taxes. Taxes. Everybody loves taxes. Everybody say it with me. Yeah.
Taxes, in one regards, are, the way in which obviously the government creates revenue.
Mm-hmm.
It's a way in which the United States is able to use that money to invest, quote unquote, in the citizens.
Right.
But also at the same time, depending on how well you understand the tax code, it can be a situation where you can decrease your tax burden significantly and really hold on to more money than what the average person who does not understand the tax code can do.
Yep.
For example, like giving to charities or starting a business. And, we use the basement of our where we're renting to be a home office. So part of the electricity that goes into powering up this place, it's tax deductible.
Yep.
We got a camera now. We have microphones. All of those different things lower our tax bill because we use it for a business. But I cut off what you were going to say. So
that's exactly what I was going to say, right? Is that you have to understand how taxes work. So you might go to the, biggest, latest institution with the most technology, and then they give you this great promotion and this, great salary, this great new big salary, and then you end up in a new tax bracket, and it's kind of like, wait a minute, why am I paying so much in taxes, right? So that's where we go back to the financial planning, and financial planning also has to include tax planning. You got to plan because you're going to pay taxes. If you play it smart, you won't pay taxes, but you will be paying taxes if you don't plan. So understanding the tax code, understanding the things that you need to do before, April 1st of every single year is going to be extremely important in helping you to hold on to money in your bank accounts, in your pockets. Don't, try to pay as little tax as possible legally.
Got you.
Legally. Don't do nothing illegal. Illegal. All right. Okay. Number 10, getting down to the wire. Number 10, negotiating. Now, most people wouldn't necessarily put negotiating into like a money trap list. But part of the reason that we included negotiating is because oftentimes y'all are not out there negotiating.
Oftentimes, yeah. There's a term out there. It says you don't get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate.
That's right.
So if you think that you and your partners are getting paid the same amount, you may want to think again.
Wrong.
You may be wrong. So you always have to ask for what you think you should be getting, what your value should be. Ask for that. Don't assume that the hospital, or whoever you are talking to or is giving you a contract is on the same page as you and thinks that you should be getting paid $100,000 to be a pediatrician when you really want to get paid $300,000, right?
Absolutely. So, negotiating, is a money trap because it truly does affect how much money you make and even how much money you spend, right? Because there are things that you could be negotiating in order to get money off, right? So if you're buying a house, if you're building a house, if, whatever it is, if you're going to purchase something, you should be negotiating those things too. Yeah. So it doesn't just stop at income. You really have to start thinking about how you can earn more money as well as save money. So negotiating, big one. And last but not least, estate planning. That I think is a big one, right? So estate planning made it to this list because many of you are out there working really, really hard, but you want to leave something for your children, right? Like, you want to leave something for your children, right? You don't want to just leave your, your degrees like you Kanye. My father left me all these degrees. One glad morning. Right? So you really want to start estate planning, because that will help you to figure out what will happen to your money when you are gone. You don't want your kids fighting over, this is my house because my mama had this house.
I think the other thing that we can put in there also is what divorce does.
Yes.
What alimony does.
Yes.
What paying child support does, what that does overall. Now, we don't have a personal story about those things, but that is something that
we do have personal stories about that. Family stories, though.
Well, yeah, we have family stories about that, but
absolutely.
I'm talking about us specifically do not have personal stories about that as of this recording. Right?
What you plan on doing?
What are you planning on doing?
What you plan on doing?
Yeah,
you plan on doing?
So we plan on talking about those things. But just to wrap it up, guys, like, these are the things that we believe kind of keep docs, professionals also kind of in this rat race. And we want to start sharing more of our individual stories, also our stories about how we met and how we, became the Darko, so to speak. And I think it will offer a lot of value to it. So real quick, before we wrap this up, I just want to let y'all know, I'm going to talk about this on a different episode, but I have my 2002-2003 application for financial aid for the University of Health Sciences College of Osteopathic Medicine, right? This is my first application form
now
that I filled
known
in.
as Kansas City University.
Right. And they're not sponsoring this episode. But if y'all listening, but in this application, I had to put in, just things that obviously I was thinking about for my first year of medical school. So my first year of medical school obviously was 2002. But one of the things they gave us also in addition to figuring out how much you need to take out, is they gave us this 2002-2003 academic year budget. And it has monthly expenses, student off-campus housing, room and board, $875. It has personal and miscellaneous, $215, transportation, $270. A monthly living expense is $1,360, which over 9 months, remember it's a 9-month year, right? Academic year, comes out to $12,240. Education, so tuition was $29,000. Books were approximately $1,600. Instruments were $1,200. And then the note-taking service, note pool, was $150. So the total educational expense per this form was $33,000. And then if you throw in on top of that the monthly expenses of living, that brought it up to $45,000. Right? Now, if you lived with your parents, room and board, $165. I guess you're supposed to pay your parents.
You pay some rent.
Pay some rent to your parents, 165 bones. Personal miscellaneous, $215, which is the same as off campus. Transportation, $270 to get you a car. Monthly living expense, $650. And then $5,850. So that means that you're, in terms of the entire budget for if you're living with your parents, it was $38,850. So a difference of roughly about $7,000 or $6,000. Right?
Between. Yeah.
So myself.
Your 23-year-old self?
My 23-year-old self was like, well, I don't want to have any issues.
Right.
I don't want to have any stress.
Right.
I don't want to run out of money. And the last thing that I want to do is I don't want to ask my parents for any money. That's how I was. I just had this feeling of they didn't have it. I don't want to ask them. I'm sure they would somehow find a way to help me out, but I didn't want to ask them. So at the back of the application, it says financial aid request / certification. It says, I hereby apply for aid in the amount of, and it puts a dollar amount in blank, right? To cover my financial need for this academic year. You know what? You guys want to know what I put down here?
What you put down?
I hereby apply for aid in the amount of maximum. I didn't even put down a dollar amount.
Give me all the money.
Maximum to cover my financial need for this academic year. And just so you know, I also in here have my lease from the first place that I lived at, which was Century Towers, right? Just so y'all know how much I wasn't playing around. So the lease, where's this lease at? Where is this lease at? It's somewhere here. Okay, so this lease, okay? So remember, in this form that tells you exactly what to take out, it says that you want your room and board to be $875.
Yes. Yes.
So Century Towers.
At maximum.
At maximum. So Century Towers, for me, $475. Right? Do you see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, but you were planning on paying the difference in utilities.
right? Like, I'm just not going to have
You're
that
going to
much.
have your heat on all the time.
I'm just not going to have that much in
You're going to have
utilities.
all the lights on.
Yeah.
You're going to do all the calling all over
And then the other thing I had, we'll talk about this in a different episode, in depth, was I got a car. I had a used car. My parents got the loan from the bank directly, and then I would use the money from the refund, the loan refund, and I would send it to them. And I paid it all off.
Right.
But it was $12,000. But the monthly fee was about $260 per month if you did it per 9 months. So that worked out okay, but that's another topic that we can talk about. So
Yeah.
just to let y'all know like how real it gets and the mistakes that we make, that's something that I just quickly wanted to share with you all, a little personal story about what it's like, what's that, like 19 years ago now?
Yep.
Almost 19 years ago.
Yeah, going on 20 years this year. Yeah.
20 years ago almost, about what we did. And you can tell, even at that point, tuition is almost $45,000. So you can imagine what it is now. I remember I saw a tweet where tuition is like $90,000.
Ooh.
And like what
What school is that?
body didn't change, right?
Apparently.
the body anatomy didn't double, it didn't triple. So
Apparently
what
it
is this?
did.
So hey guys, listen, this is something that we want to start doing. This is something that's really important to me. I think it's important to talk to you all about all of the right moves that you need to make. I also think it's important to expose you to all of these innovative doctors who are out there. That's dope. But also at the same time, you need to know, like, are we living that life? What it was like, the mistakes that we made, right? The person who texted us, Dr. Mavis, is texting us from Pittsburgh, wondering what it's like to go from New York City to Irvington, and then I'm not sure what path she took in between that point to getting into residency, but now she's a resident. Like, that's some valuable information that we all can talk about and share. So that's pretty dope. So listen, if you guys agree with what we're doing, if you don't agree with what we're doing, if you have some additional stories, go ahead and text us. Alfred, put that number on the bottom of the YouTube video. And if not, if you guys can't see it, go ahead and click on the show notes. You'll see the number there, and we'll get the text, and we'll go from there.
Yeah,
So anything else you want to add?
No, that's about it.
All right, y'all.
Yeah.
So we're going to probably start rolling out these episodes starting in February, and then we'll kind of roll through the whole year and start dumping in all these different things. We even had some debates with these issues also. The first one is going to be, what kind of used car should you get?
Yeah.
Should you get a fairly new used car, like a 3-year-old used car, or should you get something like
a 10-year-old
like a
used
hoopty, like you was rocking?
Yeah.
Right? So that's going to be an interesting
Rock
discussion.
it.
So.
Yep.
All right, y'all. We're going to catch you guys on the next episode of Docs Outside the Box. Remember, text us. Let us know what you think. We'll catch you on the next one.
Peace.
It's my show. Peace.